So we're here in the TMC newsroom with our pal Mike Cooper, who's a VP of Marketing and Business Strategy at Alcatel-Lucent. But today we're talking to him about his role on the board of NGN Forum, and we're going to be talking about a new working group. Is that a good way to say it?
We've just announced yesterday an applications working group to look at sort of where applications are going within the next-gen sort of IMS space.
Okay, so normally tell us about how the working group actually does its work. So what's involved here? Are we looking at the IMS standards and how it interfaces, or are there other issues?
So I think this whole idea of the applications working group came about as we were looking at where the forum was going to go and what it was going to do. We had very strong and good results from the Plug Fest that we were doing, which took sort of device manufacturers, vendors, and service providers, brought them together to sort of accelerate how IMS would be deployed and interwork in the network. So if you look at where applications were going, it sort of was the next big thing, if you will, obviously. It's huge here at CTIA, Mobile World Congress. There was a whole group, whole exhibit hall for that. So if you look at the application space, the notion was how can we as a body put those same sort of principles that we did with PlugFest towards applications. And so we've started to develop what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, and it's really an idea that's germinated over the past 3-4 weeks, months. So we're just at the beginning of where we're going with it.
And are we looking at, are we building a requirements document at this phase? Where's this
I don't,
phase?
I mean, when we first started talking about this, we focused on more looking at applications from a business point of view. And if we were to take and build first a set of what we called use cases, which were not technology focused, take those use cases, send them out and educate the applications community on what's available for developing applications, things like sandboxes, SDKs. The notion would be to challenge these application developers and content providers to develop applications for IMS and non-IMS applications. I think that one of the things that IMS brings to carriers is a new set of assets in their network. And what we're trying to do with applications and with the group is how do you leverage those assets inside a carrier's network so that application and content providers can bring those assets to the end users. Because some applications will reside in a carrier's networks, but many of them will be outside the carrier network.
And are we expecting that whether they're inside or outside, that there's use cases that would be associated with maybe extracting mobile commerce or location? Or
most definitely. I think that's the key, is that IMS brings, first place, the IMS part of it brings some rather unique attributes like quality of service, presence, location, security to these application developers that may or may not have experience in building communications. I mean, there are a lot of application providers out there that have tons of experience with communications type services, but don't offer quality of service on their network. So they could partner in sort of a new business model arrangement with a carrier, where a carrier could present to them an API for quality of service, and then their customers get that even though they're not IMS customers. On the other side is that there are customers of carriers that could benefit by using applications that could also leverage assets inside the network, and the application provider could then use those to kind of build better user experiences for the end user.
Okay, and there were a lot of announcements at Mobile World Congress with efforts to kind of create a common discussion point and a common platform. I remember one of the announcements was aimed at a global clearinghouse type function and that kind of stuff, using Jill or using I forget AT&T's version of it, but I guess one of the possibilities is that we get to a common structure of interoperability between the carriers and those applications.
Well, I think that, I mean, we're coming from as a forum and also as a vendor in that space is to develop a set of APIs or assets down from a carrier network that can be presented out irrespective of who the carrier is, what the carrier is, whether they're fixed, mobile, or cable. And these are amongst all the types of APIs that are in the industry today. So it's not like we're trying to develop something new. We're more or less trying to bring things together in these use cases so that we can educate the application community, and then once they start developing the applications, maybe create a test bed like we did in PlugFest to make sure things interoperate between carriers and vendors and device manufacturers.
Makes sense to me. That sounds good. So people should find out by going to the NGN forum. Is that the right domain?
At the NGN forum, there will be a set of documents or an entry point for the working group, and as we develop more what we're doing and then provide information, it'll all be documented under there.
Okay, so I think we've handled the NGN forum. Now you want to put your other hat on for us, and what have you been showing here at CTIA with Alcatel-Lucent?
Well, one of the things that we're focusing on, and the reason you actually bring it back to the applications group, is this whole notion of applications enablement. And we believe that the carriers have a lot of assets that they can expose and deliver to the carriers. Plus, we think that IMS creates this infrastructure for delivering voice over LTE, as well as data applications in RCS. So what we've been showing here is how you can deliver today voice over LTE, or how you can deliver RCS in an LTE environment. So it's, again, using these assets, exposing them for applications, exposing them for voice, and then showing how it can grow from there to a broader applications community. Very consistent with the applications enablement strategy.
Sounds great. Michael, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good to see you.